Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you as always, and I hope you're doing well. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, but I don't think it's the COVID, because I'm still. I have left the house maybe 3 times this week, and have never gone more than a few blocks from my apartment for food runs, because I'm both a hypochondriac and I'm trying to flatten the curve, which is a really great combinations of things. My temperature today and my temperature is actually running below 98.6. So I'm too cold. Maybe I'm freezing. I don't know. It is a cold, rainy day here in New York City, which I'm honestly thankful for because it'll help keep people out of the parks and away from each other, which is what we need to be doing right now. But you don't need me to tell you that. You're smart people, and I know you know. In personal news, my fiance and I have had to push our wedding back, which was originally scheduled for May 23rd, 2020, back an entire year to May 29th, 2021, which honestly it was upsetting, but given the circumstances of the state of the world, of the fact that our venue might not be able to be open, and it not seeing an end date for this thing yet, it was the responsible decision, and I know that when this is over and we do actually get to have our reception and our party, it's going to be even better than it was originally, and that goes into what we'll be doing on the show today, because my guest on the show today is musician Barry Briercliffe. Barry is a singer-songwriter who lives near Liverpool, England in the UK, and he's actually going to be playing at our wedding next year when it happens. So this is kind of thematically appropriate for where we're at today. Barry and I met when I was in Liverpool with my now fiance, who was traveling for work, and I was benefiting graciously and tagging along. And we met Barry because he plays in the pubs on Mathew Street in Liverpool, which, if you're unfamiliar with Mathew Street, it is where the Cavern Club was originally located, which is where the Beatles got their start. So Barry, I saw do several sets in the pubs during my time in Liverpool, and I really enjoyed his playing style, and to the point where, because he does this very cool thing, and you've seen like KT Tunstall and Ed Sheeran do similar things. He has a loop pedal set up where he will hit his guitar, loop a bass line, and then loop a melody and then play over it. And I thought he did this. This was the best I'd ever seen anybody do a loop pedal. And he also is a fantastic arranger of songs acoustically. He has an incredible singing voice, and he has a great extensive repertoire of original material. He has one album that is available now, and he has another album coming up for release that will be premiering in the next few months or so. It might be changing given the state of the world, but if you guys stay tuned to the end of the interview, I will be premiering a brand new Barry Briercliffe song that nobody has heard yet except for me and now you listening to this podcast. And Barry also plays a couple of other songs through the phone because we're dealing with the technical limitations of not only being isolated in our homes, but also being across an ocean. But Barry was very nice to play a couple songs for me through the phone, so you're going to hear those. And then after the interview, I will have a brand new song from Barry's upcoming album for you guys to enjoy from the studio sessions that he sent me. So you guys are really going to love this interview, I think. And I love the new song, and his stuff is great. And I'll have links in the description for how you can check out his original music as well as his live album that he released recently as well. And if you guys enjoy this show, you can follow me personally on Twitter at Comic Will Carey. And you can follow the podcast at Between Awesome and Disaster, all one word. And if you know someone who you think might enjoy this as well, tell a friend. We're available on Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify. And it helps me during these really weird times to make a show. And I hope it helps you listening to this show. So I hope you're staying safe wherever you are. And be well, friends. And let's go to my chat with the incredibly talented musician and my friend, Barry Briercliffe. And there we go. Awesome. Hi, Barry.
Hello. Thanks very much for having me on your show, Will. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a honor to get to talk to you like this. I think you're my first international guest, and definitely my first international remote guest in the 3 weeks that I've been figuring out how to do all these remotes. Because you were telling me a little bit that you feel like you're going a little stir crazy staying inside. The way I'm staving that off is just
Uh,
podcasting every day.
yeah, yeah. And it's a little bit crazy, as it is around the whole world at the moment. But being told that you got to stay indoors is a bit kind of when you're put in that position, you kind of start questioning, you know, what do you do with your time? You kind of all of a sudden like stuck in solitude, and you kind of like you feel like you're at a loose end, But we'll get through it. We'll all get through it. We just gotta stay put.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. How is the UK can't talk. How is the UK handling this crisis? Because I feel like some of the states in America are handling it much better than others.
In the UK, um, our government are terrible, really terrible, and we only went on lockdown a week and a half ago, when really we should have been in lockdown about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So that's quite alarming, um, because Italy have got really severe cases of this COVID-19, and we're only apparently the UK is 3 weeks behind. So, and we were late to start the lockdown, so that's a bit concerning. But I don't. What's the right way and the wrong way to deal with something like this? Because we've never in our lifetime experienced anything like this. It's insane.
I know, like truly, like this is the kind of stuff that you read about in history books. This isn't the kind of thing that you live through. The only model I have and is whatever our leadership is doing, do the opposite of that. Because and I'm, and I'm not specifically talking about uh, Donald Trump trying to politicize it, or the fact that your prime minister actually has the virus now. What I'm mostly referring to is, I don't know if you saw this, but so they did a UK cabinet meeting over Zoom, because Zoom has just taken off in the midst of all this, the video conferencing software, and he did it.
Right. Okay.
And so Boris Johnson tweeted a screenshot of, conducted the first Zoom cabinet meeting, but apparently the screenshot had the meeting ID, so anybody who with that number could just join British cabinet for a day.
That sounds like a typical English government mistake. That just sounds incredible. That
I
doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't.
I know. I would have loved to have like just some random people, chime in. It's like, oh, how did you handle the quarantine? Well, I became a part-time British politician for.
I think, Will, if you would become a part-time British politician, I think you would do a much better job, to be honest with you. You definitely.
I think I feel like I could pull it off. I did
Yeah.
I did a couple plays in school where I had an accent. And based on my idea of what Parliament is like, I could just like, oh, you bastard, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Where do you get off, bugger? I'm always.
I think
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I definitely think we should try and get you as our prime minister. Definitely.
Oh my gosh, that if I could just become the UK prime minister and that's how I handle like my late. I mean, I don't think my comedy career is going to be a detriment at all. So if anything, I think that's gonna help me. Um,
Yeah, it's a platform. It's definitely a platform.
oh, 100%. I also wanted to ask you because you're in a. I think your career is a little bit further along than mine is, but as somebody whose job is like live performance and being out, how has this affected you? Because like the pub's all shuttered, right?
Yeah, well, it's incredibly strange, because because we were still gigging when this crisis was happening. We were still gigging, and it was, for a large amount of time, it was still really really busy on Mathew Street, and Boris actually that Boris left it to the very last minute to announce that we were going to be closing. He basically said that he advised that the general public didn't go to these places, and which was a bit of a bad thing to advise, when he should have just said, "Listen, we're all on lockdown." But as soon as the lockdown came, it was very strange. Every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what I do. I go to Mathew Street, and I play, and I get that interaction, and all of a sudden, it just stopped, and it was like very strange. But I understand why everything has to close down. But it's definitely a surreal period of history. We'll definitely look back on this in years to come and be like, whoa, what happened?
Absolutely. Like there's so many. I've seen so many photographs of New York City streets that are just empty. It's as if like
Hmm.
the zombie apocalypse has occurred, and there's like the main character is like wandering through the streets somewhere trying to find other survivors. Um, it's it's eerie.
Do you know? Do you know what? Do you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen that film?
Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
That makes total sense. And cricket is not big enough in the states that I have a cricket bat handy. So I'm ill prepared, Barry.
Baseball bat would do. Baseball bat would do.
Spectacular. Well done. Great American pastime. Who says sports are canceled? So Matthew Street, like, and this is I love this story because that's where I first met you. So I think you had met my fiance Chelsea, and when you met her, I was in Edinburgh, just kind of like staying at a hostel and seeing what Edinburgh was like. And I think she tells the story of like she you must have thought she was like some kind of like crazy stalker or something with a made up boyfriend.
No, no, I actually don't remember. I don't remember it happening like that. That's weird. Did I meet Chelsea first? I thought I met you both together.
well,
I must be,
well, we
because
eventually
I
did
remember
meet together. Yeah.
we were in Rubber Soul, weren't we?
Yes. Yes. I believe that's the pub it was, Rubber Soul. So my memory of this is I was in Edinburgh and the World Cup was going on. So I remember I think sitting in a pub somewhere near what's that famous road in Edinburgh if you head up all the way you get to the castle. And I think I was watching Japan or Belgium or somebody, and
Yeah.
she sent me a video of like this guy is great. We got to go see him when you get back. And it was your uh, loop pedal cover of Save Tonight. I was like, that sounds
Oh yeah,
awesome. Definitely
yeah.
want to check that guy out. And then I remember walking into Rubber Soul and you were setting up, and I was like, Barry, and you were like, Will, and I was like, I exist. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too, me too. I do actually vaguely remember meeting Chelsea first and you being in Edinburgh. I do remember. It was about. This has got to be 4 years ago, surely. Or am I getting time mixed up?
Uh,
It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a few years ago because
Yeah,
she was in Liverpool for a conference, and I was along for the ride, as I'm lucky enough to do on some
yeah, yeah.
occasions. And I had been like I had been a whole day. I'd like gone shopping. I'd gone up to Anfield. I was having a great time. I'd gone to there's this really great museum, and this might be the crux of where I want to takes some of this music talk. I went to this really great exhibit that kind of showed like the history of like British popular music over the last 50 years, like starting with skiffle,
Oh wow, yeah.
like in the 50s, leading up to like leading up through present day in America's Got Talent, and then you touch upon like the Beatles and everybody in between, Oasis, Keane, all of the seminal British rock acts. And I
Hmm.
remember really my favorite part of that was like they had instruments set up so you could play along to like Oasis songs, and that I really
Oh
enjoyed.
wow.
It's a
Where was this museum? Which
it's
museum?
I'm gonna get to I'm gonna look it up by the end of this conversation, because it was, I believe, the like Liverpool Museum of Music History or something to that effect. It was really really cool, and they had like guitars from the Beatles and like Rob Halford's like leather getup
Amazing, amazing.
as someone who considers himself a like architect of music, an archaeologist of music history. I was in heaven, because it was
Mhm.
all the kind of stuff I like to nerd out on. I wanted to ask you, Barry. You live in the Liverpool area. Are you from there originally?
Yep, yep. I'm a Scouser through and through.
Excellent, excellent. And my feeling of Liverpool, like something about it, like I enjoyed London, but I feel like I really, like, part of my soul, like, really kind of resonated with the feel and vibe of Liverpool. I don't know if it's by the water, or if it's being near the water, or if it's just that, like, it's not as massive as London, but there's a lot of interesting, cool stuff going on there. But
Well, they say that Scousers and New Yorkers are very similar. We have a very similar sense of humor, apparently, and we've got a similar kind of, let's get on and make something, really, really special. We've got that kind of same kind of vibe. So I think maybe why you had a strong feeling with Liverpool. Plus, I'm going to say something controversial. Uh, in the UK, we joke and we say that, like, the north is more friendly than the south, and
hmm
I don't know if you thought that, but that sometimes is the case. People up north tend to be a bit friendly, because if you live in the south, it's very, very busy, so people don't really have time to, like, stop and have a conversation with you. Whereas up north, it's a little bit more chilled out, and you know.
That's that's really interesting, because I think in America it's the exact opposite.
Hmm.
I totally believe, like, people in major cities. That's why I think New Yorkers have that reputation for kind of being gruff. Is that, New York is the place where you go to like really like be busy, and whatever you're trying to do it all the time, and it just kind of consumes you. So you're like, when you get in front of like four people spread out across 42nd Street, just looking at
Hmm.
buildings, you're like, out of my way. Um, comparatively, I've traveled down south, and you'll have like a 20-minute conversation at the rent a car. We're like, oh, where are you guys from? Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, that's pretty cool. You should check out this place. And then next thing you know, like, you're inviting them over for Christmas. It's it,
Yeah,
the different pace of life. But
yeah.
Liverpool, I felt, was like the a perfect balance of those two. Like, I definitely feel like you could, like, there's people that are like having their thing and they're doing the thing in Liverpool, but it's not the same kind of like manic pace of like London, or like Tokyo, or New York.
I think that's the great thing about Liverpool, is it's got its parts of the city which is got all that, busy, 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 loads of people doing the thing, but then there's lots of cool kind of like things in the background that that you can go and retreat to. You can escape from the busyness of the city. I think that's a cool thing to have. But Liverpool is only a relatively small city in comparison to, obviously, Manchester is bigger. I don't know if you went to Manchester,
Uh,
and
yeah.
but I think I think we're very lucky in Liverpool because we have. I think personally we have a really stunning waterfront the Mersey and the liver birds and everything. It's one of my favorite places to go to. When I need to unwind. It's lovely.
Oh yeah, that I loved the waterfront in Liverpool. I feel like because my grandfather was a Coast Guard captain and he sailed around the Antarctic Circle, so I feel like part of me thinks in a past life I would have been like a merchant marine or a seaman of some kind, and I feel like I really was. If the sea calls to people, I was definitely hearing it very loudly on the waterfront in Liverpool for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
one other thing I wanted to ask you: are you a Toffee or a Liverpoolian?
I'm a toffee.
You're a Toffee because I know that that's like when you're born, yeah, that's decided.
Oh yeah. Literally, it's like it's it is literally like if you support Everton, that if your father, it normally goes your parents. If your father supports Liverpool, you're a Liverpool fan, and same if your father supports Everton or Liverpool, you support whatever side your father supports.
Hmm.
And if you go against that, it's very frowned. It's very frowned upon. So
Sure.
things can get pretty heated in Merseyside with regards to football, uh, which I think is a little bit silly personally. But I've never really been a mad football fan. I'd rather go and see a gig.
Yes, likewise. I do enjoy watching football now as like my escape from everything because I am not trying to be an
Mhm.
athlete at this point in my life. But I find like I find like the really like rugged like uh, point where you want to like start a fight outside the game a little intimidating.
Yeah, it's a bit insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would rather just like, oh, we won or we lost. We'll get some time. It's like it it's escape. It's escapism. It's not like it shouldn't be like viewed like so ideologically, I guess.
Foot, football in the UK, people who follow football are really passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
almost to the point where they're too passionate and it consumes them. Um, I I just see it as like, oh well, it's just two teams kicking a football round. It's a bit of
Totally.
entertainment. That's how I see it.
It,
A large number of people who do follow football are like proper, like, they really, it's their life. Everything that they live for is for football. It's it definitely makes people football. It defines who they are. Some people.
yeah, I've definitely seen that in my experiences of all most European football culture. I almost got my ass kicked in Spain for wearing the wrong jersey to the wrong stadium, but
Oh no, really?
yeah,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I made the mistake of wearing a Barcelona kit to a Espanyol stadium, not knowing that that was the other big rivalry Barcelona has, and I'm glad that and
Oh, that, yeah.
they almost tore it right off my back. Like I was getting spit on. It was a whole thing. Um, so your
Oh
dad's
dear.
your dad's a toughie. What was your home life like growing up? What was your dad like?
My dad was great. My dad was working class, hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
I see my dad in the night times, but like every day my dad would be going to work and grafting and yeah, I have fond memories of my childhood. It was a very musical childhood.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember, music always being an integral part of our day-to-day life.
Can you tell me
But I'm the only one in the family. Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're the only one in the family.
I, I'm the only one in the family who actually plays an instrument, which is which is crazy.
Interesting. But music was always on in the house.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell me the first song that you heard that made your head turn and go, "What is that?"
The first song hmm, that's a very good question.
Yeah, because I can tell you mine. Like my mom listened to Motown a lot
Hmm.
when I was growing up. So like Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Four Seasons, all of that classic '60s R&B. And
Yeah.
the first song that ever made me that ever made me go, what is that? I've never heard anything like that. Is Blink 182. I heard I
Mm,
heard What's My Age Again. I heard like power chords and like dun dun
yeah,
dun 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 dun. And I was like, I need more of that. Give me more of that, please.
yeah. I think. Well, I can tell you the first like singer that I ever heard. I remember hearing this when I was like 2, because my mum was a massive fan, and that was Barry Manilow. I'm actually named after him because my mum was like such a massive fan.
Oh,
So
really?
that's my first, yeah, that's my first memory of music. And then the first song that I remember going, what is that? I'd have to say Bohemian Rhapsody,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just so, the harmonies, the piano playing, the way it just develops into this like mad opera. It's like, phenomenal, phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that's maybe I think that will continue to be for the next thousand, easily the next 1,000 years, the
Hmm.
best rock and roll song ever written.
Oh yeah, 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 totally.
That just takes everything that rock and roll can be and just shoves it all together. Queen were I feel like Queen, I know, and they're very popular, but Queen are geniuses. Like as far as like
Oh yeah.
as far as songwriting and like composition of songs, like those songs are those songs are incredible. Like you cannot listen to Queen and not want to either dance, pump your fist, or chant. I love them.
Or or cry,
Yeah,
because
right.
the song "Love of My Life." Whoa, that is a tearjerker. What a song that is!
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, 100%. And did you when how old were you when you started playing guitar?
I was very late actually. It was when I was in college, so I would have been about 18 and 19, I think.
Mm-hmm. And what did you go to school
So,
for?
sorry,
What did you go to school for?
I went to do music performance, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh, awesome. So you were studying music performance before you played guitar?
Yeah, because I played when I went to college, I could play the violin, the piano, and I dabbled a little bit with the drums.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually going to college and seeing other people playing guitar that really like turned me on to like wanting to learn how to play. So I would see my mates play, and I'd be like, oh, what chord's that? And then they'd show me, and eventually, one chord leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and then before you know it, you've bought your first guitar, and then away you go.
Oh, totally. So you're studying music performance. Do you remember what your first guitar was?
Yes, it was. It was actually given to me. It was a Fender copy. It was a Squire. Um, It was a copy of David Gilmour's Fender Red guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember recorded my mate's dad's band, and I recorded the CD for them and produced it and put it on a CD for them. And as a way of payment, they surprised me and gave me this guitar, and I was like, wow, that was like the best payment anybody could have ever given me. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. So and so you had knowledge about recording music also.
Yeah, it was very very limited at that age, but
Sure.
I dabbled. I had to go.
Oh, that's excellent. And I'm curious when I think about like the way when I think about music performance and what the curriculum there might be versus like composition or jazz or classical, is music performance specifically focused on like live shows?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, we do different styles of music. We'd obviously get the opportunity to play the stuff that we loved. So at that time, well, still to this day, I still loved them. It was like Radiohead, Coldplay, Muse, Travis. That was all REM. They were all sort of the bands that I listened to when I was at college. Still listen to them now, really, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And but we also had to. play in different styles. So with me being a violinist, I had to play in classical style, baroque style, and so
Sure.
we got it all from different angles. And obviously the guitar players, most of the guitar players were like they were rock heads. They wanted to play rock. So like it was really cool seeing them like trying to trying to get their heads around playing a jazz track. It was great. We had such a good time in college. It was great fun.
Uh-huh. Oh, that yeah. I always love seeing that because there was a guitar class in my high school that I took for a few years, and the first year was like very like all sheet music and like dun dun like single notes like picking out melodies and like
Hmm.
this is boring as sin, and 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 then and then there was like the kids in class that were like in played in like a local pop punk band or a cover band. That would like show me Fat Lip by Sum 41. I don't know if you
Yeah, and you were like,
remember that song.
yes,
That
that's a great riff.
yeah,
That's a
such a
great
catchy
riff.
riff. Or like learning like, oh, if you just take if you should just take your first finger and your third finger and that's a power chord, and then you could just move that around, and you only need three of those, and you can be in the Ramones.
Yes. Yep. It's an eye opener when you realize you're like, whoa. It's like someone's just giving you the key to, coolness, and you're like, whoa, just opens up your mind to all possibilities, musically. It's amazing. Music is amazing. It is,
Oh,
isn't it?
100%. I remember um, because once I had first heard Blink, I was like, more, give me more. I need more. I need to learn more things. This
Hmm.
defines me now. And uh, there was a cable channel. I think it still exists on TV called VH1, and
Hmm.
in that era, they were all about uh, like music of the 80s, like all of the like classic rock and roll bands that like my dad would have grown up on, like your Ted Nugents
Bon
or your
Bon Jovi,
Bon
Bon
Jovi.
Jovi, things like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all of the glam metal bands like Poison, Winger, Warrant, Motley Crue, like metal
Hmm.
especially. The first time like you just hit that like an open E5 and just hear like oh, and like
Yeah.
I roll this down. It's spectacular, and so you go to college for music performance, and you get out, and then what happens next? Did you ever play in bands, or were you always a solo artist?
I played in a few bands, yeah, but it was one of them. You'd get a band going, and then you know the guitar player would go, "Hey man, I'm gonna go and study in London, or I'm gonna go and you know be a doctor, or I don't want to do this anymore." And then you'd be like, "Right, okay." You'd be like back to square one. You'd have no band, and then there'd be all sorts of scenarios where you'd get people into being in a band and the chemistry wasn't right, and it was whose amp's the loudest, and it was all kind of like a bit crazy. But I was in a band with two other people for about 2 years. We were like an acoustic trio,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. It was fantastic. But it was at that time in our lives where like we were in high school, and then we were in college, and then at that end of that period, people were like deciding to go on to do further study and go to university. So it was at that point that like we kind of like stopped playing together because we were going to like different parts of the country to study.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about that time I started thinking, um, maybe I should you know, try and go on my own, because you can. It's easier sometimes, to to do something on your own sometimes.
Yeah, I had. That's exactly how I got into stand up comedy. My band in college, who I just had my old bandmate on. That I'm gonna put that episode out soon. He moved to the Midwest, so like thousands of miles away. I had a catastrophic falling out with the bassist and drummer. Like
Oh.
like like truly a slow motion car wreck of a falling out, and and then I was just like, I didn't have, well, and I was like, I didn't really have any the confidence in my ability to sing and to be a solo performer, and then I didn't walk by the poster that said open mic stand up comedy, but I definitely saw it and was like, oh, well, you just need a microphone and a crowd. I don't need anybody else to get on to do that. Maybe I'll go try that.
How did you find that first moment of doing stand-up comedy? Because stand-up comedy and singing is very, very different. I would expect doing stand-up comedy to be so fucking frightening. It would be more frightening than singing. I would think so anyway, but I'm not a comedian. But what was that experience like the first time? Do you remember what it was like for you? Was it nerve-wracking? Did you get many laughs? Was
Um,
it what?
yeah. I remember everything about it. I remember before I actually did stand up, I was a big fan, and I really got into stand up by watching like uh, surreal like one liner joke tellers
Mhm. Yep.
like Stephen Wright, Mitch Hedberg, Dimitri Martin. I Because to me stand up before I found them was storytellers, and I was not a storyteller at
Mhm.
the time. Getting in
Mhm.
front of people and talking was scary, and so I
Yep.
remember and I remember like, oh, I could write weird jokes. I'll just keep a little notepad and write some like weird non sequiturs. And then
Mhm.
the first time I ever did stand up was at a place called Damon's Bar and Grill, which is like a chain sports bar in the United States. There was one located in a town called Hunt Valley, Maryland, which is about 20-minute drive from my old apartment in Baltimore County. And I go there and I talk to the host. His name is T. Brad Hudson. He's one of the first guy I ever met in comedy. And I was like, "Hi, I'm Will. I'd like to try the open mic." And he was like, "Yeah, sure. I could give you like 5 minutes." And I was so nervous. I had my piece of paper with my couple little one-liners I wanted to do, and people were like, the other comics who were there, they were like giving me advice. They were like, "Oh, just go up there, be fine." And my name gets called. I go up there. I tell my cup. I tell my handful of weird jokes, and it sounds like I'm bragging when I say my first set went decently, but I actually did get a few laughs. But I actually did get some good laughs the first time, and that's when I caught the bug. I was like, "Ooh, this feels great." And
Yep.
then I got off stage, and
Yep.
T Brad, the host, was like, "Dude, you have to come back. I'll get you on the mailing list. You should keep working. You should keep working on this." So I was like, "Oh, great!" And it felt really good afterwards.
Wow.
I felt like I had found like my thing, because
Yeah.
to get into to have the band fall apart, and then feeling kind of tired of with dealing with all the external stuff that isn't playing and being on stage, like having to deal with the logistics and managing personalities, became really
Mhm.
difficult. So, but then when I look at you, like, because I'm playing music again now, but what I'm doing is I can get away with like screamy shout, as far as
Mhm.
vocals go. But like when I look at what you do, and to entertain like massive pubs of people at different levels of inebriation, I find very impressive.
Yeah.
Like the first time I saw you, I was like, wow, Barry knows how to work the room. He's killing it right now. And I think I saw one of your videos of you doing the Proclaimers with like a guy with a horse head.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just before, because I want to get into like where you're at now, like how how do you as a performer handle the extremely inebriated? Because in stand up, it's a very difficult different mode.
Yeah. Well, if I'm doing a gig and someone is being a little bit, being slightly annoying, there's two ways of dealing with it. You either politely stop whatever you're doing and call them out and hope that you have the crowd on your side, or you can just tell them to fuck off.
Right. That's what I do in stand up. Good to know. So you're playing in the acoustic trio, and you realize you're going to go on your own. And when does the loop pedal setup come into to effect? Because I remember when we first chatted in Liverpool, getting very nerdy about your effects pedals.
Hmm. Well, it was right at the end of college, um, and I remember watching Jules Holland, and there was a performer called Katie Tunstall.
Mm-hmm.
She came on, and she was doing a song with a loop pedal, and I remember watching it, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that? That is incredible! I need one of those pedals." And I was like, "Wow!" So literally the next day, I rushed to Manchester to the local music store,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "I want a loop pedal like Katie Tunstall." And I literally spent like the last 200, £300 of my student loan on buying the loop pedal. And I can honestly say it was the best purchase I've ever purchased in my life, because it's something that I've used ever since, and you know it's a very, very integral tool to have if you're a solo musician.
Absolutely. I imagine I didn't because I didn't see anybody else on Mathew Street with with that same setup. So I definitely think it helps you. I definitely think it might help you be more memorable, especially if someone is completely slost. They might be like, "There was this guy, and he was playing, but his hands were doing something different." And then their mate can go to him like, "Oh no, he's a wizard." It's like, oh no, it's this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've been meaning to send you this. So I know you use that Electro Harmonics octave pedal. I don't know if you're aware, but they also make a pedal called the B9 that
Hmm.
replicates several different types of bass guitar. I'm not sure if I
No,
didn't know if you knew
really?
about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
No. Wow. Okay.
Okay. I'm
How
gonna
much?
Uh, if I had to guess, I think it's a couple $100, but you can get them. But I've seen them used for like 150 US on a site called
Wow.
Reverb.com.
Wow. I need to check this out. This sounds amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna send you that video as soon as we finish this episode. So you start, and I also wanted to ask you about doing the loop pedal. Um, are there some songs that naturally lend themselves to being covered in that format? Are there some songs that can't be adapted? Is there anything that can't be looped?
I find that the best songs to loop are three chord songs, obviously, or
Hmm.
four chord songs. So, like songs like Viva La Vida, Coldplay,
Yeah,
four
yeah.
chords. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Your favorite Save Tonight.
Yes.
That's three chords. But there's one song that I can never seem to do with a loop pedal, and I've never actually succeeded in playing it with a loop pedal. So whenever I play it now, I don't play it with a loop pedal, and that's Times Like These, Foo Fighters. For
Yeah.
some reason, that song, I don't know what it is. I can't get it to work with a loop pedal, so I just do it acoustically, and everyone screams their head off thinking that they're Dave Grohl, so they're not really that bothered. It's such a great song. It's such a great crowd pleaser
Uh-huh.
that whether you use the loop pedal or not doesn't really matter. It's just a great song. But yeah, I'd say that one is a hard one to try and tackle with a loop pedal.
Totally. And so you have your new setup, and uh what is the series of events that gets you from where you are with your going solo and after the end of the acoustic trio to being on Mathew Street nightly? And for anyone who doesn't listen to this, and you can and correct me if I'm wrong, Barry. Mathew Street Mathew Street is famous because that's where the Beatles started. The Cavern Club is where the Beatles played their first gigs, and there's just it's an entire street of bars that have live music every night of the week,
Hmm.
and it's
That's
kind of
right.
like it's kind of like a destination for Liverpool, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a hot spot in Liverpool that loads of people go to.
And how did you get into to being one of the regulars? Because I Chelsea and I must have saw well, I think she saw you 3 or 4 times. I might have only been around for two of those. But how did you
Mhm.
get into being a fixture on Mathew Street?
Well, I used to go to, like you did for the stand-up comedy. I used to go to open mic nights and go down and sign up and do two or three songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I went I went one night to this open mic night and played what I usually did. And this guy came up to me, a guy called Tony Allen, and he said, "Listen, you're really good. You need to be playing, you know, down Mathew Street. And my son is one of the managers. He books all the acts. Um, here's his card. Give him a phone call, and let's see if we can get you playing." So I took the card. I phoned his son. His son's name's Ethan Allen, and he gave me an audition. And it's actually quite funny, the story. He gave me an audition. He said, "Okay, Friday night, I want you to come down to Eric's, and I want you to bring your guitar, anything that you play with, and I want you to just play 15 minutes just for me, and I'll tell you if you've got the gig or not." So obviously I was fucking shitting myself, so
Right,
nervous.
right.
So I got there for the audition. I got there 15, 20 minutes, ahead of schedule, so I wasn't late. And I remember the audition was 6 o'clock, and it was 5:45, and no sign of this guy. So I was like, okay, 5:50, still no sign of the guy. 5:55, no sign of this guy, and I'm like, okay, where's Ethan? He's supposed to be coming to audition, not here. 6 o'clock, no sign, and I'm like, okay, this is a wind up. I thought like someone was pulling my leg.
Right.
Anyway, five past 6, I get a phone call, and it's Ethan, the guy who was going to become my manager. And he goes, "Hey Barry, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but I'm actually in hospital. I've had an accident
Oh
and I
no.
can't get down to Mathew Street. So can you just do me a favour? Can you just jump on and do a set in Rubber Soul on Saturday night, 2 hours?" And I was like, "Okay." So I did the gig that Saturday night in Rubber Soul, and then that was it. That was the gig. I've had the gig for 7 years, so it's a bit crazy.
I
I
lo-
was literally thrown in at the deep end.
I love that. Like I ever so many great performance stories are like, "Are you ready for this?" No. Well, you're doing it, and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, I
That's
think I think in I think in a weird kind of a way, that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I would have gone to the audition, I would have overthought it, I wouldn't have done very good. Whereas I was put in a situation where I had 400 people in front of me, and it was like, this is it, make or break, let's have it. And luckily, it went well.
totally. That's great. And he's your manager now. That's awesome.
Hmm.
And I wanted to and I also wanted to ask you because I you've got one album out and another album that'll be coming out shortly. Do you still get to gig and do your original stuff?
Yeah, I do try my best to do the original stuff, but with the amount of cover gigs that I do on Mathew Street, it's finding the time to do that.
Sure.
So the way I've kind of combated that problem is I've done quite a lot of online stuff. So I've made like music videos, and I'm got a couple of cool little live acoustic videos that I'm going to post up within the next couple of months. And with regards to doing gigs, um, I try and get at least two or three original gigs in a year, um, because obviously my time is taken up with doing
Totally.
the Mathew Street stuff. And unfortunately, it sounds terrible, but original when you play original stuff, it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't pay the bills, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get up and play, a load of covers, people are going to pay for that.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Um, it is good though that you still have that outlet because I feel like for the way the music, or at least lots of show businesses right now, is you find people that like your stuff online and then the gig comes from that. At least that's how I'm approaching my band in this
Yep.
podcast. Like, oh, if you like my podcast, maybe you'd want to come see me do stand up, or come to a show that my band does.
Mhm.
I think that's just kind of how it is. But playing music for people that makes people happy, and that's your job, that's always going to be cool. That's the dream. I
Mm.
think that's the dream everybody want. That's the dream everybody wants, and you're doing it, man. And I think that's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Funny you should say about online and stuff. It's only been since we've been on lockdown because of this COVID-19 situation that I've realised that, playing in front of 400 people isn't as terrifying as playing in front of a telephone, doing a live webcast. I find that more terrifying than playing in front of a room full of people. I don't know why. I just find it more. I feel like for a start, people are listening more attentively because they're online and like they're kind of like, okay, this is like 5 minutes of my time. I'm going to watch it. Whereas like when people are in a bar, it's kind of like, you know, they're getting drunk and it's like, hey. But I've found recently that doing the live videos has been quite nerve-wracking.
I relate to that. When my band, when we're cutting just like a quick 2 hour live in the studio demo, I was so scared. I was like, if I make it, I
Hmm.
can't make any mistakes, can't make any huge glaring mistakes because it's being recorded. And then the first time
Hmm.
I went into a studio, I was like, I wrote this song. How do I not know how to play it?
Hmm.
I just
It's
had
it's
tons of
like
that stuff.
it's 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 when you're put in that situation when you're going into a studio to record something, your mind kind of like starts taking over and you start thinking, okay, this is going to be laid down on tape forever, and then
Yeah.
that freaks you out a little bit because because like when you're playing a gig or you're doing a stand-up gig, it's gone in the moment, you know what I mean? And like, you might make a mistake. I've made loads of mistakes when I've been playing. I've sang the wrong words, I've played the wrong chord, but it's gone within the moment. And 9 times out of 10, people don't notice that you've made a mistake. But if it's on a recording, it's there for everyone to hear for forever and ever and ever. So I think that's why it's more scary, doing that, being in that situation.
Absolutely. Well, as a seamless transition, because I do have I have my thing coming up at 4 o'clock. Is there could I convince you to play something into your phone now,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and you can play whatever you
Well,
want,
anything at all.
anything at all.
Is it just one thing, or can I do two things? Because if I was going to do two things, I'd do Save Tonight, and I'd do an original one.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
know you like Save Tonight.
Let's do that. Absolutely. Thank you, Barry.
Okay. Should I do Save Tonight first?
Sure, because that's the song that I first that's the song I first saw you do. So that would be wonderful.
1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go and close the curtain. All we need is candlelight, you and me, and a bottle of wine. Go and hold it night, yeah. Well, we know I'm going away. How I wish it was so. Take this wine and drink with me. Let's delay our misery. Say tonight, we'll fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Say tonight, we'll fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. There's a love on fire, and it burns like me for you. Tomorrow comes with one desire to take me away. It ain't easy to say goodbye, darling. Please don't start to cry. Girl, you know I gotta go. Lord, I wish it was so. Say tonight, the fight break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Say tonight, fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Tomorrow comes to take me away. I wish that I could stay. 'Cause girl, you know I gotta go. Lord, I wish you were so, yeah. Say tonight, we'll fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Say tonight, we'll fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Say tonight, we'll fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Say tonight, fight break of dawn. Say tonight, say tonight, say tonight, say tonight.
Awesome.
Hello.
Awesome as always, Barry. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'll do a original, okay?
Oh, excellent. Sounds good.
I'm so nervous doing this, man.
I think you sound great, and I'll also put I'll if we can premiere One Step Forward on your episode, I'll put the file you sent me as well.
Okay. Which one of the original ones should I do? Do you want me to do another one that's not been released, or do Peculiar, or?
Why don't you do Peculiar? That video's out now. I can put a link to it. Yeah.
Everything you say is a story of lies. You can't seem to look me straight in the eyes. It's over. I can't help thinking you're peculiar. Every now and then I see you falling apart. Always wanting a fresh new start, but it's over. I can't help thinking you're peculiar. What sort of game were you trying to play? Always wanting to have it your way. It's over. Take it or leave it, I don't care. All your bullshit, I don't want to bear. Not today. Get out of my way. Not today. Get out of my way. Sometimes late at night I start to think all of those times when it started to sink. It's over. I still think you're peculiar. Don't try to reconnect, 'cause I'm on the brink, holding on to something that's not gonna sink. It's over. I still think you're peculiar. What sort of game were you trying to play? Always wanted to have it your way. It's over. Take it or leave it, I don't care. All of your bullshit, I don't want to bear. Not today. Get out of my way. Not today. Get out of my way. Sometimes tears are overflowing. Tears are overflowing. Sometimes fear is overflowing. Fear is overflowing. Sometimes
Fantastic. Awesome.
Hello.
Hello. That was great, Barry.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And where can people go to find more of your music?
If you go to YouTube and search my name, Barry Briercliffe, you'll get loads of live videos and original stuff. And if you go to Facebook and search for my name, Barry Briercliffe, you'll find my Facebook music page, which has got all sorts on music videos, audio files, pictures, everything.
Fantastic. And you're on Bandcamp as also, yeah?
I am on Bandcamp. Yeah, you'll be able to buy my album from Bandcamp soon. I'm going to be putting up the pre-order links up pretty soon.
Excellent. Sounds great. Thank you so much for doing this, Barry. It was really great to have a nice long chat with you.
Nice one, Will. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Take care and stay safe, all right?
You too. Look forward to seeing you next year.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great party, man. I can't wait to see you.
Oh, you too. Take care, Will.
Take care, Barry.
You say you have got a plan, but no one seems to agree. You always backtrack with setbacks, selling our souls for the lowest fee. How did we end up here on the edge of falling apart? There's no turning back, you breaking my heart. Tell me what I need to know, 'cause my heart's breaking, aching. Can't we find another way? How do we open our eyes? You're always taking one step forward, two steps back. Days go by with still no clue of how much more we can take. Starting to think that this could be the biggest mistake we will ever make. How did we end up here on the edge of falling apart? There's no turning back, you're breaking our heart. Tell me what I need to know, 'cause my heart's breaking, aching. Can't we find another way? How do we open our eyes? You're always taking one step forward, two steps back. Tell me what I need to know, 'cause my heart's breaking, aching. Can't we find another way? How do we open our eyes? You're always taking one step forward, two steps back.
And that, my friends, was the premiere of the song One Step Forward off of Barry Briercliffe's upcoming album of the same name, which will be available shortly on Bandcamp. You can go to barrybriercliffe.bandcamp.com. That is BARRYBRIERCLIFFE.bandcamp.com. And I will have links in the description as well for his YouTube channel and for his Bandcamp as well. You can check out the his video version of his loop pedal version of Save Tonight, as well as check out his other albums as well. Barry is a wonderful songwriter and a incredible performer, and I'm glad to call him my friend, and I'm glad that he is going to play at my wedding next year. It is going to be spectacular, and I can't wait to share that day with him and with so many people that I hold dearly. It may have to have been moved, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna let that get me down, or when that date does roll around, that the party is going to be just twice as big as it normally would. So that is the spirit I will leave you guys with today. That's our show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this and think you know someone else who might enjoy this podcast, you can let them know we are available on Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify. And if you want to get a free month of Stitcher Premium, you can do so by signing up with the promo code AWESOME. That helps out the show and gets you access to a lot of podcast and comedy albums, which you might want at this time in human history. And I also want to give a shout out to my supporter on Patreon at the awesome producer level, Mary Beth Mooney. Thank you so much for your support. I sincerely appreciate it. And you can go to patreon.com/awesomedisaster and check out the stuff that I'm doing over there. But this show will always be free. I do not want to put this show behind a paywall, because you guys give me life and connection in a time when we're isolated. So thank you for being here, guys. Stay safe. And I will see you next week between Awesome and Disaster. Not even next week. I will see you next time between Awesome and Disaster. Wash your hands, everybody.
Sometimes late at night I start to think all of those times when I started to sink. Now it's over. I still think you're peculiar. Don't try to